GTA Online has way too many cars to choose from, so I've narrowed it down to 21 cars you should actually earn. Budget cars, meta picks, and the ones that are just the most fun to drive. Let's get into it. Starting with the budget cars, I feel like there is no better place to begin with the free Elegy. There's many reasons this is a really nice pick. First of all, it does look really clean when you fully customize it. Driving this car around does feel really nice as well, but where I think this car really excels will be the chance to fully upgrade it with the Benny's upgrades. If you decide to take the vehicle over to Benny's and upgrade it to the Elegy Retro Custom, it will still cost you just under $1 million, which nowadays in GTA Online is still a pretty nice budget pick, and this will completely change how this vehicle looks and performs. Either way you look at this is a really solid choice, especially if you guys are just starting GTA Online. You can use the free version of the Elegy, fully upgrade it, and later on, if you choose to, turn it into the Elegy Retro Custom. Another phenomenal budget pick will be the Sultan. Unfortunately, this one is not free, but it may as well be free because it will only cost you $12,000 to pick up. You can find it on the Benny's website, and yeah, this is really similar to the Elegy because it will also have the Benny's upgrades, and the overall upgrade to the Sultan RS will actually cost less at just over $700,000. Just the standard Sultan looks really clean, and having this upgrade option whenever you choose to do it makes this a great choice for a starter car. Because the Sultan's price is so cheap, you could buy two of these things, have a standard Sultan and upgrade one, and it is almost like having two completely different cars. For our next budget pick, I decided to go with the Jugular. If you manage to get the trade price for the Jugular at just under $1 million, it will be quite easily one of the best cars you can get. The Jugular genuinely feels incredible for a standard vehicle, although it is just a little bit more pricey compared to the standard Elegy and the Sultan. The performance that you guys get from the Jugular, and even just how this one looks, makes it an ideal choice for any of your garages. I remember my first time driving the Jugular, and I was blown away how good the traction and especially the acceleration of this car is. I also love the sound this makes when you are driving it. Another car that is more on the pricey side of the budget vehicles, but is still an incredible option, will be the Zentorno. With a price of only $725,000 and having this type of performance, I do think this is a must-own car for pretty much everyone. Not only does the Zentorno still look incredibly nice, but it feels so smooth to drive. It feels that smooth to drive that I almost included it in the best vehicles to drive instead of the budget cars section. If you have never used the Zentorno, you are seriously missing out. This next car is just on the fringe of being a budget vehicle at just under $1 million. This will be the Sterling GT. A lot of people might disagree with me on this pick, but I do think this is a really nice pick. If you have access to the HSW upgrades, it will have that upgrade choice if you decide to go down that route in future. I think this one is really similar to the Jugular. It sounds pretty similar. Still extremely fast, and surprisingly, the Sterling GT's handling is actually really good. If you are willing to spend just a little bit more than the previous cars, I do think the Sterling GT is a really solid choice, especially for those of you out there who have access to the HSW upgrades. The final budget car that I also wanted to include in this section will be the Duco Def. I do believe that this could be easily in the budget section and also the meta cars section. It just has so many different advantages. First of all, it is a completely free vehicle on the Warstock website, which makes it a great choice for a budget car. But on top of this, it will also have some explosive resistance, being able to tank 1 RPG. It will also have some bulletproof windows, and it will make it extremely difficult for NPCs to shoot you in this thing. Unfortunately, it is not completely bulletproof. However, with the really tiny window slits, the NPCs can really struggle to hit you. So yeah, if you have not got this thing, this is something that you definitely want to try and get. In my opinion, the only thing letting down the Duco Def is probably its overall top speed and sometimes its handling, but for all of these advantages and now with a missile lock on jammer, this is an incredible vehicle for really hard contact missions or just driving around in public sessions. So next up, we now have our meta vehicles. These are the vehicles that you definitely want to try and get. Even just having one of these things will really help you guys out, no matter what you are doing in GTA Online. The first one will be the Buffalo STX. For a muscle car, the performance of this thing is so good. It gets to that point where it really does not feel like a muscle car because of the way how this vehicle handles, how fast it can pick up speed. But where the Buffalo STX really becomes an essential car is with the Amani Tech upgrades. If you take this thing over to your agency, you will be able to put on the armor plating and the missile lock-on jammer, and with these upgrades applied, it will also get some bulletproof resistant windows, quite easily making this a meta car in GTA Online. Our next meta car is one that has been around for such a long time. It will just be the Armored Kuruma. I won't spend too much time on this one because it is obvious what the Armored Kuruma offers, and it will be some really nice protection from bullets. However, it is not 100% reliable. You can still get shot in this thing, and where the Armored Kuruma gets really let down is just having no missile lock-on jammer and no explosive resistance. So the only times to use the Armored Kuruma will be in contact missions, where typically NPCs are not going to use RPGs against you or any explosives, and even then they can still delete you out of the Armored Kuruma. Overall, it is still a really solid car, and for the price I do think it is still worthwhile. Quite similar to the Buffalo STX, we now have the EVX, which is sort of like the full electric version of the STX. A lot of people might disagree with this being a meta car, however you might change your mind when you realize with the Amani Tech armor plating on electric vehicles, for some reason in GTA Online, when you have the armor plating on electric cars, they become extremely explosive resistant. Not only will this be extremely explosive resistant, it will also have a missile lock-on jammer available, so even if you do manage to get hit by an RPG or an Oppressor Mark II missile, you are pretty much always surviving. And on top of this, it will also have access to the HSW upgrade. In terms of the handling of this car, it is really not too good, but with it being an EV, the acceleration is expected to be fast, especially with these HSW upgrades. Although you cannot take corners very well, you can still speed off extremely fast. Another electric vehicle that is really similar to the EVX, maybe just slightly worse, but definitely better looking in my opinion, is the Omnis EGT. Just like the EVX, the explosive resistance on this thing is essentially the same with the Amani Tech armor plating. It will not have access to the HSW upgrades, however I do not think it needs it, and yeah, you will see just how clean this thing looks. Having access to the Amani Tech with the armor plating and missile lock-on jammer, and with it being electric, gaining access to that really fast acceleration, this is a great car to have. If you hate using the Armored Kuruma for different contact missions, or even just driving around generally in GTA Online, this next car is currently completely bulletproof, and they will also have access to the missile lock-on jammer. This will obviously be the Coquette D5. Ever since this vehicle came out, it has been bugged, and I only found out about this vehicle really recently, but it does turn out no bullets can get through the windshield or really anywhere on the car, so you can just sit in here and tank as many bullets as the car allows and be completely unscathed. This is my go-to choice for different contact missions and even heist setups until Rockstar decide to fix it. Obviously the bulletproof resistance is really nice, but on top of this, the vehicle's performance and top speed really just slide it into this meta category comfortably. Having this car for contact missions will make everything so easy, even just driving around in GTA Online sessions with access to the missile lock-on jammer. If you do not get hit by a rogue RPG, barely anything can mess with you when you have this car. For an underrated choice in the meta category, I decided to go with the Paragon R Armored. Unfortunately, this will not be a purchasable vehicle on any website, and the only possible way to get this is by buying a casino penthouse first and completing all of the casino story missions. So kind of unfortunate, however, after completing these things, you will get the Paragon R Armored, and because these casino story missions are essentially just contact missions, you can use the Coquette D5 to make them very quick and easy. When you finally get the Paragon R Armored, you will instantly notice just how good this thing is. The main thing that I noticed as soon as I got this car was its handling. It is genuinely quite hard to lose control of the vehicle. It almost feels like you're driving around a really heavy car. That is the best way that I can put this one. It comes included with some armor plating and even some machine guns on the front, which I would probably not even recommend using. If you guys are yet to get this thing and you already have a casino penthouse, make sure that you play through the casino story missions as soon as you can. The final meta vehicle that I just have to include will be the Ocelot Virtue. Instead of buying this directly from the Legendary Motorsport website for a kind of ridiculous price, I would recommend just playing through the Last Dose missions at the Freak Shop. You will then get access to the Virtue very similar to how you get the Paragon R Armored, and yet the Virtue is once again another electric vehicle having access to the armor plating through Amani Tech, making this an absolute cockroach of a car, the survivability of pretty much everything you go through, and you will come out untouched 9 times out of 10. The Virtue's top speed is not too bad, it's nothing spectacular, however because it is electric, acceleration wise you are really going to pick up that speed, get away from online players, or even just lose cops extremely quickly. So now we finally have our best driving cars in GTA Online. This will just be a handful I have picked out that genuinely just feel glued to the road. So if you guys are bad at driving or something, you could probably just pick one of these cars and really be better off for it. The first one will be the LM87, a really pricey vehicle. It looks really clean, and in terms of performance, this is easily one of my favorite cars to drive around in. Unfortunately, it will not have a missile lock-on jammer upgrade, so something to be aware of, but for this type of performance in a car, this is probably one of the closest things you can get to the open wheel vehicles. A great alternative to the LM87 will be the S80RR. Some people might say this one is actually better because it does have the missile lock-on jammer available. It also looks almost identical. It will be a one-seater car as well, and yeah, as expected, it also handles pretty similar. Both of these cars are really cool and so fun to drive around with. Next up, we have the Niobe. I probably don't need to spend too much time on this one. Everyone knows how good the Niobe is. It has access to the HSW upgrades, and even with these HSW upgrades applied, it becomes one of the easiest things to use for HSW time trials and standard time trials alike. Just driving this thing around the city always feels incredible, and for those of you guys who still do not have access to HSW upgrades, the standard Niobe is still a really solid pick. With it being a hybrid vehicle, it does get some of the benefits of a full electric car, so it can pick up the top speed extremely quickly. The only thing letting down the Niobe is not having any missile lock-on jammer. Another car that feels amazing to drive will be the Emirates. Extremely pricey, but the Emirates still holds up even to this day. It feels so good to drive this around the city, and if you play a lot of races, it might be a go-to choice. I also think it looks really cool as well. Another vehicle that is electric, which in my opinion might be the best electric vehicle in terms of handling, is the Lacarouse. The Lacarouse can have the Amani Tech upgrades and the HSW upgrades. The price of the Lacarouse as well is not too bad, just at under $2 million, so still quite expensive, especially if you apply the HSW costs and Amani Tech costs, but completely worth it. This thing has some extreme handling. You can even take this thing off-road and be completely fine, go through these different type of bushes and not be affected. If you are looking for the best electric vehicle, I might genuinely say this is the one. Back onto some standard cars, we now have the Torero XO. I just have to include this in the best driving vehicles. It just feels so balanced. It doesn't feel too crazy to drive around with compared to things like the LM87, but with its top speed and a missile lock-on jammer available, I do think this is one of the best standard vehicles you can get. Unfortunately, it will still have a massive price tag of nearly $2.9 million, but this is definitely worth it in my opinion. We can't mention the best driving vehicles in GTA Online without mentioning the Itali GTO. This has a really similar top speed to the Torero XO, however, I do think the handling is a lot better. As you'll see in the gameplay, this thing rarely skids out. It can go around pretty much every tight corner, and at a price of under $2 million. In terms of these best driving vehicles, if you are looking to save a lot of cash and still want a vehicle that performs extremely well, this would be my choice. Unfortunately, it will not have a missile lock-on jammer, which really is this vehicle's only real downside. Because we already mentioned the Emirates, I just feel like I have to include the Krieger in the same section. The Krieger is probably the best alternative to the Emirates. A lot of people used to choose between the Emirates and the Krieger, and for me at least, I always preferred the Krieger. And nowadays in GTA Online, I do think the Krieger is technically better because it will have access to the missile lock-on jammer. The performance of the two vehicles are really similar, and overall, I do actually prefer how the Krieger looks as well. Once again, for driving this thing around, even just racing, this will be a really solid choice. I love seeing this thing in my garage as well. It instantly stands out. The final vehicle I also want to include here for the best driving cars will be the Turismo Maggio. I currently do not have this one, and it will cost you guys a lot of cash, but it quite easily has some of the best handling in cars. It will have access to the Amani Tech. The only thing letting this one down is its top speed. At this point, we are finally on to the honourable mentions. I just want to skim through a few of these things which could easily be in each category. First up, we have the Entity MT, an incredible car. It has access to the HSW upgrades and a missile lock-on jammer. The appearance of this car as well looks incredible. The Wagner is a really underrated choice at $1.5 million. The Sentinel GTS just has to be included in the video as well. I know a lot of people love this car, myself included. I recently just bought this and was really shocked how good this car actually is. A really solid top speed and some great traction. The LSCM, Cheetah Classic and even the Jester RR are also great choices, offering you some really nice stability and versatility. Even the Turismo Classic and the Karin S95 are solid choices. And the final thing I also need to include will be the Banshee GTS, one of the fastest cars in GTA Online history, with and without the HSW upgrade. So that will be some of the best cars that you guys can get in GTA Online currently, offering you a multitude of different things. Overall, if I was going to pick the best car, it would probably be from the meta section, but then again, I really do think it comes down to what you need. For example, the Ocelot Virtue is still probably in that conversation of the best cars in GTA Online, with all of them Amani Tech features, that ridiculous explosive resistance, and the acceleration you get. But if you don't like electric vehicles too often, the Coquette D5, right now with its bulletproof resistance, makes it quite easily one of the best cars you can get. If you are looking for a really cheap and extremely useful car, I do think the Duco Def just has to be on top, getting it for completely free from Warstock, with the missile lock-on jammer and some explosive resistance, and very similar bulletproof resistance to the armored Kuruma. You really cannot go wrong with the Duco Def. If I missed out any cars that you think should have been in this video, make sure to leave a comment below. Like I said at the start of this video, GTA Online just has so many different cars, and it genuinely does come down to your personal preference and what you need out of a vehicle. Some ones that I really did miss out on were some of the weaponized vehicles. For example, the Toreador and the Stromberg. They could easily make it in this list, and could definitely be considered in the meta category. As usual, if you went on to enjoy this video or found it useful, make sure to leave a like. I always do appreciate your support, and if you are new to the channel and like what you see, subscribe and hit that bell icon to never miss a video. Finally guys, stay safe, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.